On the last episode of 2020, we're reviewing our biggest lessons from this year, things that have helped us grow as much as we can in this crazy pandemic year, and closing out to look towards the future of what's coming in 2021. Thanks for joining us. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Today in Space. I am your space podcast host from the East Coast, Alex Girofanis. This is take 3. This is the third time I've tried recording this. It's just been kind of crazy. I've rambled a lot, more than usual, and really want to make this focused and short and to the point. I just have some thoughts, some big picture things that I've learned from this year, and talk about the balance, right? This podcast segment that we do, the balance of life, of the space industry, of the Force. One of the big things that I thought was great about 2020, because there was a lot that wasn't great, was seeing SpaceX and NASA join forces and really combining so that they can both build off of each other and work together to do greater things than either one of them was capable of doing individually. And that's the biggest lesson. If there's one lesson that we can all take away from and see an example of that would make the world a better place, it's working together. And the thing that's really interesting is for such a long time, especially for the history of this podcast, and it was happening even earlier than that, SpaceX and NASA were not friendly online. Definitely not the people that were the diehards following either side like it was a team, but also from the people that I know that work for both places and the people in the industry, especially from the academic side, you know, what people saw SpaceX as this kind of like rookie, young blood, like they're trying to mess things up. Oh, they're gonna kill somebody. They're gonna blow somebody up. And one of the marvelous things that blossomed from 2020, obviously we had the Demo 2 mission. That first Demo 2 mission with astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, tenured NASA astronauts, going up on the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule, docking successfully, returning, showing us that really, really amazing, futuristic-looking Crew Dragon capsule, bring them back. Then the Crew 1 mission going off without a hitch, and they're still up there. They sent some really great messages back during the holidays while they were on the space station. It's just, when did teamwork become something that was so foreign to us? I mean, and we see this with a lot of things in the not so balanced life of, especially in the U.S., but in the world too, of this need to be in a fight with somebody, or need to tear somebody down, or need to pick a team or pick a side. It's really insane how divided we've all gotten, and personally, everything I'm seeing from the space industry is showing momentum towards that idea of working together. And it's this strange thing where, the last time the space race happened, there was a lot of turmoil. The world was in dire straits, especially from a civil rights perspective, but also with the tension going around the world with the Cold War and everything going on with that. It was a source of hope, a source of unification as humanity, and not so much just different countries. So I hope that's the same momentum we're seeing right now. And I'm looking forward to see what happens next. We get a lot of exciting things coming up. It's Mars, and obviously the lunar stuff too. But we've got the Perseverance rover is doing its stuff. It's going to be landing, and then we're going to see Ingenuity, and that's something very exciting in the first few months of 2021. So it's stuff to look forward to. And then of course the other missions that will be following that to continue that Mars mission. And there's been a lot of talk about Mars colonies, SpaceX putting in provisions in their Starlink licensing agreement saying that if you do sign up for Starlink, you agree that Mars should be a free planet, which triggered so many people in the space industry, hilariously. But all of the shenanigans aside, this is just a great thing to see in general. People working together to accomplish great things like sending human beings into space once again. and the Artemis mission is shaping up. We're really looking forward to that. But following on that, not only is teamwork or building a community to lift people up something that's really important to me in this next year. It's also something that's also a really big lesson from this year, that I was able to see the fruits of that work after years of post cigarette addiction, post a pack of cigarette a day for 6 years, and taking the plunge to getting out of that. The only thing that got me out of that was being brutally honest with myself, knowing that I had a problem, knowing that I needed to make a change. And that's still a lesson I'm really learning today, but it gets easier and easier the more you do it. Not that it's ever something that's easy to do, just it becomes like a hack that you're like, all right, yeah, I'm feeling this again. I'm at this point where I've got to be honest with myself. What am I doing? What can I do better? And that's been very good to me. This year has really shown that all the work I've been doing has paid off. I've really learned what I'm good at, and more importantly, what I'm not good at, and either spending the time to work on those things and fill those gaps, those weak spots in my armor, and also not focusing on some things that are really just not worth my time. One of the examples I can give for this podcast for sure is spending a ton of time trying to make this episode something perfect or the exact way that I can do it, when I don't have money to pay someone to edit, and I definitely don't have people offering to do edits. So it's like, when I'm the only person, I've got to figure out how to balance my time and being honest with myself that I did not have the time to make what I wanted in my head, that perfectionist thing, and that it was actually more important to get the episode out weekly, regularly. That this year was a huge breakthrough for this podcast. For 6 years of doing this, it was the first year we were able to actually achieve that. And I'm very proud of that. And I thank all of you for your feedback and your support while we were doing that. In that process, I also realized, well, you know what? I've got to figure out how to do this in the time that I have allotted to me, right? Then I'm a working engineer. I still work in the field. For those that don't know, I work in the 3D printing industry. I'm what's called an application engineer. So I'm an applied scientist, an applied engineer. I'm actually applying the things that are theoretical or, the big picture science ideas. I'm putting them into work in real life. And being someone who works on applying science is something that I really, really do enjoy. And again, being honest with yourself, I was stuck in this for so many years. I was stuck in this mindset of I had to be I didn't even know what it was, but I was convinced that I had to be a certain type of aerospace engineer. And what I ended up realizing was that whatever that was not what I wanted to be. It didn't bring me joy. It didn't bring me fulfillment. And joy is not necessarily the word I look for, but it didn't bring me fulfillment, right? It didn't make me feel like this is what I want to do. And obviously I didn't necessarily have the opportunity, never really found my way into an aerospace company, but I did with 3D printing. And, with our 3D printing lab here that helps support this podcast, our Etsy store, ag3dprinting.etsy.com, that has become something that's amazing. We help bring people's ideas into realities. Snapcaller, Mike Sullivan's my friend that I grew up with, and Jack, who together, the two of them helped create Snapcaller. We've had a tremendous time watching them grow and get funded and reach their goal. And of course, recently we're doing some more prototypes for them to help them save some money, but also test an idea in real life to see, hey, are we ready to buy this mold that's going to cost, a ton of money? Let's test it out with a quick prototype. That's what I love doing. And the other thing that I was really honest with myself finally this year was like, the podcast doesn't get, like, the people that see the podcast seem to like the podcast, and that's great. But how do we get to more people? And I think I proved to myself after last year being honest and saying, I don't know how the internet works. I may be an engineer, but I am no genius. I'm no Einstein, and especially not with the internet. And I've luckily had a lot of great people who I've met online through Twitter, through the Space Pan Squad, through interacting from listeners on this podcast, and other people that I've met through this. This podcast has really helped me find so many cool and interesting people, and their feedback and their support has been tremendous. And I've grown so much by receiving that from you, and I can't thank all of you so much. And one of the things that always kept coming up, especially a few years ago, was you got to promote the podcast more. You got to share your stuff more. And I went down this black hole of following Gary Vee and really learning about how do you get your message out there? How do you get people's attention? And this year was a great, tremendous year for Today in Space in that regard. We reached 40,000 different individuals, 40,000 impressions on both of our social media accounts this year, which is a huge margin more than last year. Our monthly downloads have doubled, if not tripled, on certain months, which is incredible. And I'm finally realizing that, I did not know what the internet did. And now I'm learning that it's always changing and you just have to be in the mix. But the most important thing is that you've got to use your time wisely. And that has been a great lesson. Another great lesson, again, from feedback and things that I'm learning from all of you. I'm thinking of Booba over at Heart of a Giant, a good friend of mine that I've met through the old retail days. I've met some great people through that. Is allowing people that you care about to help you. If they're willing to help, let them help you. It's something that's kind of related to something that held me back growing up, which was, in school, I did not do necessarily very well. I had periods in my learning history going through school, whether it was high school and then I'm thinking college. There are two real pivotal moments that happened in both of those where I finally said, let me ask the right question, or it just like a blossoming moment, it was a life-changing, what's the word I'm looking for, realization. In high school, freshman year, I had a guidance counselor who told me I really wasn't smart enough based on my grades, and he recommended I would take a lower level on both math and science so that I would I wouldn't fall behind later down, which obviously in retrospect, I should have had enough belief in myself to say, hey, no, that's not what I want to do. But I took the easy road and then immediately knew it was the wrong choice. But a math teacher that freshman year gave me the opportunity to say, hey, you have the second highest grade in my class. I offer this to the two highest grades in my class. I will vouch for you to take 2 classes the next year so that by your senior year, junior year, you'll catch up. And just having someone believe in me made me believe in me. And and that's what ended up getting me to go to school for aerospace engineering. And that was great. But the thing that held me back and why it took me 7 years to graduate from with my aerospace engineering degree was I was not asking questions. I had this block from asking questions because I felt like I was dumb. I was dumb if I didn't ask something and add that final puzzle piece so that I understood the full picture of what was going on. I was getting bits and pieces of, okay, this means this, but this means this, but why am I learning this and how does this relate? And if I had just asked and not held myself back and allowed someone else to help me, it would have been completely different. But that's my journey. That was my challenge to learn. And I didn't learn that lesson until year 5.5. I learned that lesson a little bit throughout the way, but it wasn't until I really had, I had a mentor at the time who sat me down and really was brutally honest with me because I needed that at the time. Again, just quitting cigarettes and in a not a great space in my mind. That honesty was super, super helpful, and it changed the whole way I looked at everything. And I've had so many people around that have been supportive, and I'm here because of those people and because of you and the listeners and your support and your feedback. So I appreciate all of you. That's really what I'm saying here, and that, you know, I'm looking towards the future to see how we can build a community here with the podcast. You know, I'm thinking literally locally here. There's definitely been a lot of cuts to school programs, and you know, there's a lot of issues that I think we can help with in a small way. Definitely with our, you know, with AG3D, helping people that are trying to develop ideas, you know, bring an idea into reality. That's definitely one way we can help with 3D printing, whether you're trying to start a company or you know, trying to figure out, is this possible? That's one way. We have our Galileo rocket project, which I have not forgotten about, just again catching up from having COVID this year, which again I appreciate everyone's support through that. That was amazing. That's one way we're going to hope to bring some hope and like a look to the future, is having these kind of 3D printed rocket launches happening locally, filming them, sharing them, but also getting the community out to watch them and doing it in a safe way. Hopefully things get better soon. But yeah, there and asking for help and receiving help from people who are willing to do so. So I feel like I'm repeating myself again, and I was trying to make this short. Those are the big lessons I've taken away from this year, and I'll say it one more time. I appreciate everyone that's been following and subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us, subscribing us on Spotify and Apple Podcast, giving us a review on there, giving us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast, because that really goes a long way. And of course, following us on social media and sharing our stuff. I mean, every time you guys do and comment, all those things are helping us reach more people and get the word out there. So thank you. I can't say that enough. I've definitely looked at the data a little bit. We're going to do some more analyzing here before the end of the year, but you guys seem to really like our People of Science segments, where we interviewed people people of science, whether they're actually working engineers or working scientists, or at least used to be, and have a really dialed in scientific mindset. And we talk about their origin stories and where they came from and what they're doing now. And then there's also people who are just, even if it's not they don't make their living through science has influenced their life in some way, whether it's through sci-fi or art or whatever it might be. Science and space is influential, and it can really make a big difference. It's made a huge difference in my life. The having the scientific mindset got me out of my addiction and got me to this place where I went from, it felt like I had no future, to really building myself into a place where we can not only can I support myself, but I can help push this message out there to more people and kind of build everybody else up with me. The rising tide lifts all ships, right? And I feel like I'm in a good spot here where we can really start doing that. So if you guys have any recommendations on things we can do to push that out there, topics you want us to cover, different kinds of content, we've got a lot of things planned for this year, including a trip to Boca Chica to see Starship as one of those tests. So that's done by supporting us here. I'm looking at other ways that if you're looking to help us get out there, whether it's through donating, like through PayPal or something like that. Like if this show, even if it's like $1, like if it's useful to you, that option's there. Obviously, we have our Etsy store. Those profits go to help us do crazy stuff here, buy more equipment so we can build more things. We're slowly building this like strange, nerdy maker factory where we can bring our own ideas into reality, whatever they might be. Launching stuff, blowing up stuff, interviewing more and more people. Those are the things that helps us. You know, we've talked about a Patreon, but again, I'm not going to just... I've tried it. We've built things, and it really doesn't go anywhere. So if you do think that's a good idea, and you have any ideas of what would be good things for that, please reach out. I'm happy to see what you guys think and see how we can make this work. But regardless, we figured out a way to keep this show going through the pandemic, and really looking forward to what comes in the next year. So if this year was a tough year for you, I I'm sorry, and I wish you all the best on this other half of this year. Let's hope the future's better than it is today, and the only way to do that is by helping the people around us. I really do believe that, and starting there. If the question is, and this question obviously comes up in politics, like, oh, does one vote matter, or how can we change the world? Is that such a massive thing to deal with? How can you change the people's around you's life? Like, can you make their day better? Let's start with the people around us. And that includes you. That includes you, the listeners. These are the big picture things that I'm working on, and finding a balance to make those things happen. That's what this is about. So thank you for listening. Thank you all for subscribing. Please tell all your friends about us. That is how we're growing. That is how we've managed to have this tremendous growth through a terrible year. And with 2021, we're looking for even more. And that's it. Have a great year. Be well. Spread love. Spread science. We'll see you in the next episode of Today in Space. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Many intergalactic greetings to you, my friends.